Hello and welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I am a Norwegian living and knitting in London. And you can find me on Instagram as Skeindeer, and I am Skeindeer Knits as a designer on Ravelry. And Skeindeer Knits is the name of my Ravelry group, Skeindeer Knits. And it's just the best place to take part in knit-alongs and giveaways and the Skeindeer Knits community, getting in touch. It's all happening over there. And yeah, welcome to my knitting podcast, sometimes referred to as knitting talk show, because it's really what it's all about. I just sit here and talk about knitting, and I seem to be kind of back to a semi-weekly schedule, thanks to having to stay at home all the time. That was kind of the main reason as to why I hadn't been able to record so often, because I was good and I came into work every day, and now I'm kind of back to my normal life, whereas everyone else is in this very new, different reality of working from home. And it's a weird place of, yeah, our lives intersecting in that weird distance way. I'm probably gonna make some references to the current situation throughout, but I'm not gonna go into any sort of negativity about it. If anything, I'll be cracking jokes, because I think people, if you're anything like me, you probably need to get away from it all a little bit and feel just a little bit better. And you will know that I tend to start out with talking about admin. There's not much admin to talk about because I have deliberately made sure to only host one knit along right now. I was running the Cybermitten Club 3rd edition, but well, there's no but, it is done, but I haven't announced prices due to the whole situation. I don't know what's up. Like, post offices are still running, so if that's gonna be how it's gonna be, then I should be able to post, and therefore I will announce. Maybe I'll do that in the next episode, because we could be in it for the long haul, and I guess I was expecting to hear something from you know, those in charge about what the long-term plan is, but it seems like nobody knows. So that's that. Whereas the other KAL that is currently running is the Skeindeer Knits garment KAL, and I think right now I am more than ever really happy to have that knit along. It is basically just a knit along where you can knit any of my garment designs. That is all the sweaters and cardigans, including a skirt. So it's for the bigger projects, unless you count the one child size sweater I have. And it's just, yeah, I guess now that a lot of us are home, I'm seeing a lot of activity in the group, so I'm guessing it's probably quite, you know, what we need right now for a lot of people. So that's running. It's as active as ever, and I am now cheekily opening up my spreadsheets and starting to grade for designs that I have no business starting to make right now, that I am still working on finishing my PhD thesis, albeit now from home again, which is not my forte. I'm not good at working on my academic work from home. I'm very good at working on the knitting work from home and anywhere, but the academic stuff is really hard to work at from home. So I try to stay focused on that, which is why I'm still a little bit absent. I am still able to make a lot of output to you guys, but I'm not exactly available. So yeah, but I may still, if you know, my design ideas get the better of me, I might still be able to produce some. We'll see. It's all a bit up in the air right now, isn't it? I managed to find toilet paper yesterday. Really pleased with that. Seriously, people need to stop hoarding, because like now you can't make any online orders, which means more people go outside, and we're not really, we shouldn't do that. So yeah, anyway. So what knitting do I have to talk about today? Well, before I get into what I've actually made and finished, very exciting, I am wearing knitwear. This is the April side sweater. It was published in Lane magazine, and it's designed by Kiyomi Bergen, and I love it. I knitted it in Skein Queen, some DK Polwork something, and Ainsworth silk mohair, and I love it. And my friend Sylvia of With Cherries on Top too helped me sew in the sleeves, so that I didn't have it unfinished for ages and ages and ages, because that is a thing that I do. I have a tendency, shall we say, to not finish things and to cast on things, and it's a general It's just the thing that I do, and I don't feel bad about it. I want knitting to be fun. I want it to be something that I enjoy. So I just let myself go with it, and I have to in a way because I'm a designer. So if I was like, oh, I can only have one project at the time, I will be putting off my designs, which I need because bills. So yeah, no, it's really good to not have any rules as such. But as I've been alluding to for the previous couple of episodes this year, the numbers kept going up in terms of numbers of works in progress. It's just gone up and up and up. I am not really fussed about what the number is. I just would like it to maybe not go up all the time, because that can be a problem. So what I have realised then is maybe you should finish a couple of things. Just a couple of things, you know, no pressure, just saying now that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 works in progress piles that I've categorised based on stuff I could finish really quickly if I just put my mind to it. Definite UFOs, kind of more complicated works in progress that I enjoy right now, simpler works in progress that I enjoy right now, and fun colourwork projects. That was already far. Okay, so there's a 6th pile as well, which is my designs. So far I seem to be doing pretty well. There was a while I had cast on as many projects as I had bound off, and that wasn't too great. But now the bind offs are slightly ahead. I don't quite remember the numbers. Let me just check my Ravelry projects. So I appear to have started and not finished 7 projects, so 7 ongoing projects that was started this year. However, in terms of finished objects, there are 11 projects that I have finished. I think 2 of them were started this year as well. So 11 finished, 7 still going started. I think that's pretty good. So I've gone from the upper 50s in project count to about, I think last time I counted it was 54. It might be down to 53 now, somewhere around that. So that's still a high number, but it's going in the right direction, and I care more about that than the sheer amount, because I mean, I'm not short of project bags or needles or anything like that. If there's anything about knitting that I've kind of come to accept, is that you always need more needles. You'll never have enough needles. You'd think having one of each type is, yeah, I've not found that. So yeah, I'm not really a WIP count shamer. If you like to have just one going at the time, or 3 or 10 or infinite, cool. So that's basically where I'm coming from, and I'm sure some people are thinking, well, is she gonna finish all 54? Is this just like weird costinitis and nothing's gonna get done? Like, what about that UFO pile? What about that one? It is really packed full. And I've talked about some of them I might frog or sell as WIPs and stuff like that. Well, maybe not right now, but you know, that might be a solution to some of those projects. But dear knitters, dear audience members of Skeindeer Knits, I have finished my oldest work in progress from the UFO pile. Yes. I don't know what came over me, I just suddenly felt like working on it, and you are looking at it. It's in the background. I'm gonna grab it. What is this ginormous loveliness? Oh, This is the Hansel hat by Gudrun Johnston. It is so big. I didn't actually think it was going to be that big when it was on the needles. I was like, it's a big project, but it was also very quick knit. It was very quick. I bought this yarn. This is BFL Massham by Laxton's Limited, and they're vending at my first ever Edinburgh Yarn Festival in 2017. I bought quite a bit of yarn there, and I immediately started casting things on just to prove to myself and others that, you know, I'm totally going to knit this stuff. I'm definitely going to. I haven't. I still haven't. This was one of those projects I immediately cast on, and I decided I wanted to go with DK weight yarn and make it even bigger than the pattern, because I just wanted to. Now, important gauge lesson, you guys know this by now, but I'm going to say it anyway. Changing yarn weight doesn't change the size of anything. in and of itself, it really doesn't. Like most yarn weights, you can sort of kind of get to the same gauge. Of course, it's going to be very hard to get a chunky weight yarn to the tight gauge you can get a fingering weight yarn, but like generally, a very loosely knit fingering weight pattern, you could easily get the same gauge on a DK weight pattern. Me changing to DK weight yarn didn't change the size of this shawl. What changed the size of this shawl was changing the gauge by changing needle size. Some people actually don't need to change needle size when they change yarn weight, just they knit looser when they use thicker yarns, but they are still changing gauge whether they know it or not. So that's just something I really wish people know, because I get a lot of questions like, oh, can I just knit in thicker yarn and get a bigger size? And I'm like, that's just not how it works. So it's one of those knitting myths. So it is bigger because I went with a looser gauge. Not only that, but I really pin blocked this shawl. I don't usually like doing that because I feel like it just brings back and you're kind of just cheating yourself. This may still be the case, I don't know. But so far so good. It doesn't seem to want to do that, so... And it's so just... Look at that. Look at that. Isn't it just wonderful? So this is non-superwash Blue-Faced Leicester Mass Ham. It is very soft. There's a lot of hand dyers that get this space from Laxton's Limited. They do it in fingering weight, DK weight, Aran weight. It's gorgeous soft yarn. I think it is very steek friendly. It's very soft. If you're funny about, you know, itchiness, I definitely check out this yarn. I just love it. I really, really, really love it. I don't know what else to say. Modifications, I didn't really modify, but I did, to avoid doing the knitted on border. You do that in the round when you do the full hap, the full square, rather than the triangle, which is the half hap. I didn't want to purl every other round, so I actually crossed the skeins so that I was working one from the wrong side technically, but then I can knit and it would come out as purl stitches on the right side. Not that I know what the right side is anymore, but that worked out really well. So basically working from two separate skeins, and when you are at the end of the round, you take the other skein and you turn and you just cross these two skeins, and then you never have to purl and you can work garter, and that can be applied to any garter project worked in the round. In fact, I did that with the Solvik shirt in my summer collection from last year. But this was the first time I tried that out and it worked out really well. And I just, oh, I can't, like, I don't know how to give you a sense of how big this thing is. But ideally, the idea is that you can fold it double. Where is the corner? You can fold it double. And try not to get lipstick on it, and wear it as the biggest shawl, which is hardly going to be necessary now that April is upon us, but I'm going to be so warm in this. But when you don't wear it like this, you know, it's a blanket basically. You could also wear it around your shoulders, I suppose. It's nice thick. Oh yeah, this is a good kind of, you know, drape over your shoulders in the summer night kind of thing, you know, when it gets a bit chilly in the evenings. That's like always my idea of a nice woolly shawl. It's very warm though. Had very good light conditions, but of course, you know how it is around here. The sun comes out when the camera comes on. So it's really warm right now, so I'm not gonna be wearing this one throughout, but I really I'm so pleased that I decided to pick up this project again. There was never anything wrong with it. There was no reason why I left it for 3 years. Yeah, it got finished 3 years and 10 days after it got started, and I did finish the majority of it really quickly after casting it on. Like, I worked the whole center square and the, you know, feather and fan border very quickly, and then when it came to the knitted on border, this kind of triangle sideways thing, I'd done like 2-3 repeats of the triangle and I was like, I don't feel it. I'm just not, I don't want to right now, but I'll do it soon. I'll just put it away. I'll do it soon. It'll be fine. We'll just do it soon. Soon was 3 years after. So, and here, that's kind of the thing, and that's kind of the moral of the story. I say I have all these projects and I intend to finish them, and I don't expect many believe me, and maybe sometimes I don't myself, but I mean it. Like, I have that UFO pile, and still there is a part of me that thinks I will finish it, and it's just not urgent at all. If it takes a month, a year, 3 years, okay. It doesn't occupy that much space. I have plenty of needles, I've got plenty of project bags, got lots of other things I want to work on, and I still think there is a purpose and use for most of those projects. That could be for me or gifts or something. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is no pressure at all. Like, this was finished after 3 years and 10 days. And I am really happy. I'm really happy I persevered. I'm really happy I didn't put any pressure on myself. I'm happy I just let it sit and marinate, and just when I was ready for it, I powered through and did the edging over just a very short number of days, like 3-4 days. And it wasn't like full on knitting. The last day definitely was. But yeah, gosh, let's see if I can give you a sense of the size of it. I can't, can I? I did not think it would be this big. I really did not think it would be this big. When it was on the needles, it just didn't look that big. I didn't even use a very long circular when I was working around, and it wasn't a problem. It wasn't... The blocking did help a lot, so maybe I should do a bit more pin stretch blocking than I normally do, especially for garter. It does seem to open up quite a bit. So yeah, I think, wow, it just grew. It is so big, and it's basically a blanket now. It's a bit of a strange shape for a blanket, obviously being a complete square, but nah, still a blanket, still works as a blanket. Awfully sorry you can hear my flatmate in the kitchen. Rude, but at least the noisier one isn't here at all. As soon as we got the news about having to self-isolate, the whole bunch of us in the UK, he just left. Decided to go see some relatives, as we've all been told not to do. So it's been really nice. The past week's just been really nice. Maybe that's how I felt like knitting on this again. You know, there's a whole story where I cast this on at the time when I was going through some very difficult stuff, dare I say traumatic, and you know, still working through that, but it's been good to be able to get back to a place where I could actually get back to a work in progress from that time and finish it and feel really good about it. It has no negative connotations for me. Yeah, maybe I could wear it like this. I just love it. I just really love it. And I'm also really happy that I chose a undyed, very neutral colour. This yarn is not entirely white. It's got definitely a kind of warm grey tone. There's a lot of colour combination you can make the Hansel happen. A lot. And there's like stripe instructions for the feather and fan. But honestly, I just wanted something like super... like angelic, you know. I just look at that. This doesn't need any colours. I definitely want to make more and more colours and all that stuff, but you'd think I'd learn a lesson by having done it once and taking more than 3 years to do it. But I'm like, yeah, I want more, please and thank you. So that's just gonna go with all my other woolly blankets for now. I got the woolly blanket I got from Sister and the Granny when I was in Chester. I got the woolly blanket my aunt has made me. It's just, I just love woolen things. I just really like having woolen interior things, like woolen home decor, cushions, blankets. You know, not just what I wear, but kind of what I live. I forgot to mention, I am still running the little kind of pay what you want sale, if I want to call it that. So I'm still going to link to the Instagram post down below. I reckon I will probably stop the sale once it kind of fizzles out. I can't afford obviously to run it forever, but it's been really, I felt really good about doing it. I was definitely in two minds about doing the sale because I don't think I don't think it's right to approach a pandemic as though it's kind of like Black Friday, you know. So definitely in two minds about that. But I figured at the end of the day, if people generally have less money, less financial security, and I'm in a very fortunate place to have an online business, but of course we're all in this together and everyone gets affected if there's, you know, more financial security, that affects me as well. And so I thought, well, the most logical thing I can do is actually to give people the opportunity to put down the prices a little bit so they can enjoy a bit of knitting, which isn't a necessity, but it's certainly a huge help when we are stuck at home. So that was kind of my thinking around that. I think I explained that last time. So at the end of the day, that's kind of where I landed with regard to that. Because I think, like I said, knitting isn't a necessity, so I think a lot of people feel like now that they're in a financial insecure place, it's not something they feel like they can do like guilt-free. And I'm always on about like how knitting shouldn't ever be about guilt, obviously, you know, with regards to my WIP count and a lot of things, stashing, yeah. So I figured the best way to work around that was just kind of, okay, what if it just cost a bit less for the people who need that, and then you can just apply different codes based on the amounts that you want and the amount of discount that you want, basically. I think, yeah, I'm happy about that. And yeah, I have another finished object actually, and it's a finished object that you have never seen before because I started it on Monday and today is Sunday, and I really could have finished this in half the time that I took, but I was working on other things too, evidently. But it was a very quick, adorable knit, and yes, it is for my future niece or nephew, and you will recognize this design. I wanted to revisit an old pattern. So, drum roll, guys. Ooh. Look at that. So, even more so, it's not the Vesle Vinterfjell sweater. Oh no, it's the Vesle Vinterfjell cardigan. So I decided to make a cardigan version of the child-sized Vinterfjell pattern. What do I say? I'm going to talk about the pattern first and then the project. Yeah, okay. So you will know the Vesle Vinterfjell. It is a child-sized garment. And I think it starts at 2 years old and goes up to 12. And then obviously after 12 you can just knit the adult size sweaters. 12 and the smallest adult size kind of overlap a bit. So yeah. But none of them are cardigans. I'm sure the very, you know, competent knitters out there can definitely convert a sweater into a cardigan. But truth to be told, they are written up in very different ways. I'm sure the grading and general stitch count remains the same, but the instructions are written very differently. The beginning round changes from here to here. So that kind of throws all the instructions. I also kind of like to add an extra stitch just to kind of make each side of the button band symmetrical. All these things change the pattern considerably, and so I've been thinking a lot about lately having the same design sold as two different patterns, depending if it's a cardigan or sweater or child size and adult. And I think there's like a lot of different opinions about that out there. I think some people feel like, well, it's the same design, why should I ever have to buy it twice? Which I understand, but from a designer's point of view, wow, the weather now is, I don't know if you can hear it, but the wind is loud. Like the wind is really loud. I'm seeing like plastic bags flying over the 6th floor, and this is wild. Where was I? We have a storm apparently. But yeah, I think from a designer's point of view, a child-sized sweater and an adult-sized sweater are two completely different patterns. I generally think you can justify baby, child, adult as 3 different patterns, really. I also think cardigans and sweaters are definitely different depending on the write-up. But I do know that there's some designers that are more than happy to sell them all under one pattern like Skeindeer Knits, which is amazing. Like their size ranges are incredible. I'm a big fan. But that's the exception to the rule. I think most people do have separate patterns, even if it's arguably the same design. And I think I've gone a little bit on a journey there where, to begin with, I was definitely in the camp of, well, why is it sold as 2 different patterns if it's the same design? I don't want to buy it twice. But then, one, I was actually only going to make one version of them, so like that's not a problem. And the other thing is, now that I design, I'm like, oh yeah, they are different patterns. Like they're totally different patterns. So I just like stuff I've thought about. I don't know if this is interesting to any of you guys, but let me know in the comments if you have thoughts and stuff. Like, so that means, long story short, that I will be launching a new pattern. This is going to be the Vesle Vinterfjell cardigan as separate for the Vesle Vinterfjell sweater. Though, having said that, I have actually reworked the entire pattern with this one. I was never super confident with the like yoke shaping of the original child size Vinterfjell. I think it's perfectly good enough. But you guys know me, if I have any idea of how I can make it better, I will not rest until I do just that. So just because I've had some ideas of how I can improve it, I will go over the old Vesle Vinterfjell and I will add the 2 new sizes. So now I will add a half-year-old and 1-year-old size to the size range, and I will update the instructions. So it's actually going to be a lot easier to make. I think the way I write up patterns now is so much better and, dare I say, more professional than 2 years ago. So yeah. I learned a lot the past few years. Like it's been incredible, that learning curve just whew. So I want to go back to a lot of my older patterns and fix them up a bit, give them a bit of a makeover, not just in terms of layout, but in terms of how I write things. So that's gonna happen there. So Vesle Vinterfjell sweater will have 2 new sizes, a clearer write-up and arguably a better yoke shaping. And there will be a new cardigan pattern coming soon. So yeah, so that was the pattern talk. The project talk, obviously I am going to be the crazy auntie who knits for her little niece few. Still don't know what kind it's going to be, so you know. And I stash dived big time and I thought, oh, do I have the right colours? I don't know, but I want, And seriously, I mean, you look at these colours, it's the exact same colours as my Vinterfjell sweater that I have for myself. I got the yarn, it was like this discontinued yarn from the late 90s, early 2000s from Norway. It was like in a discount bin in somewhere in Rogaland in Norway. I was on holiday to my aunt and uncle. I managed to make a design that just fit those quantities, and for the leftovers I made my hat pattern. So I didn't have any way of getting the same at all. But I had 2 skeins of navy blue Tove by Sandnes. I had a number of light blue Navia Duo skeins that I used for the romper that I'm working on. And I had some cobalt blue Usk from the KAL pattern that I made for that Norwegian Insta knitting book. And it's the same colour scheme. I can't believe it. It's like... So clearly it's still possible to replicate the colour scheme. Don't even have to use the same yarn, you know. Tove, Navia Duo and Usk by Hillesvåg are very different. I mean, they're different companies, but they're not actually very different yarns at all. They're all, I call them like the Finul garn type yarns. They're sort of similar, so feel free to use different types of yarns. If it's sort of in the sport fingering weight area, then, you know, it works. So that's that. It's knitted top down. It's got a bit of shorter shaping for the back just to raise it. I have shifted most of the increases to on top of the main chart. That's the biggest difference, and that's the difference I'm going to introduce to the old pattern as well. I may have gone a bit too far, so I'm going to ask my test knitter, at least the first one that I have now, and then maybe get some others later, so stay tuned for that if you're interested. I'm not gonna I don't let people come to me and say, hey, can I test knit? I'm like, okay, fine. I will announce, because I can't deal with messages just like, blah, blah. I'm chaotic. I'm KALs. You guys know this. Just to put that out there. Every time I say the word test knitter, I would like get an avalanche of requests, and I will be announcing if there is such a thing. Anyway, so, but my like beta test knitter will let me know how she feels about the change of increase rate. I think it looks a lot better, but I may have gone a little bit too far on that front, so we'll find out. But oh, it's so adorable. It's so adorable. I caught up with the Star Trek Picard series on Amazon the whole of yesterday really. It was a Saturday, I'm allowed. And I swear I was knitting on this sleeve 3 times because I had just messed up the math in this, just the dumbest ways. Like the first calculation I'd based it on stitch gauge rather than row gauge, even though it's a sleeve, it's gonna work gross. Anyway, second time I had knitted the whole sleeve and I was like, that's a very, very tight cuff. What was I thinking? And I got my measuring tape out. I'm like, that no child's gonna get their hands through this. What was I thinking? So I redid the cuffs entirely and did the sleeve the 3rd time, and it's perfect. So it wasn't like that I'd, you know, because I tried it out, I found that something else works. I like to know that things work in theory before I do anything. It was that I just made really, really obvious mistakes. So good thing I found out before my tester did. You'll notice there's one thing I have left to do. Yes, buttons, but it's actually not been cut open yet. I just picked up the button bands from the inside of the work. I feel like that's a bit safer sometimes. The only thing I've done with this Steek is the crochet reinforcement, because I like that full sense of security, but it doesn't really provide much at all as far as I'm concerned. It's just, it gathers all the chopped off ends and makes them not like fray too much. But as you can see on the inside here, it's still all just stockinette, like there's nothing too magical going on here. This is the inside, right? It's just reverse stockinette. Yeah. So that's a Steek, and I get a lot of people telling me how they are so afraid of Steeks and they don't want a Steek and it's so scary, and let me tell you, it's just not. Like, I've just knitted here. It's just knitting. Just knitting. And yeah, stockinette, right? You're just cutting through stockinette. That's Steeking. It's there's no fuss. There's nothing to write home about. So when you do the crochet reinforcement though, as much as it doesn't really reinforce, it does really show you where to cut, because it really reveals these bars by pulling the stitches aside for you. So I may not have the best setup to do a tutorial about this, but I thought I'd just Steek right now. Why not? I'm gonna do it anyway, might as well. So I've got my fabric scissor, try not to cut anything else, and let's just get started. Whoa, there we go. Okay, see, you can see the bars. No, you can't. See, it's like, oh yeah, gonna see if I can do a better one. See all the bars coming up between here? This is the worst tutorial anyone's ever made, but whoa, yeah, ha. Okay, see if we can do another one. Oops. That's what happens when you cut through stuff you shouldn't be cutting through, but it's still fun. It's still fun. I make a lot of weird mistakes when I do videos about this, and then people get like, oh my god, it's so scary. And it's like, no, it's just that I'm not actually looking at what I'm doing, I'm looking at you guys. So I'm going to do the rest sitting down now because it's through the colour work. And that is a little bit harder because you're just dealing with more stuff. But it's not hard, like it's the same, but just a bit more bulk. What did I cut through over there? Well, it seems fine. It's fine. This is the thing, like whatever you cut through that you shouldn't be cutting through because you're working with this sort of yarn, it's very forgiving. It's just, yeah. should get like those Google glasses that you can just put on your face. Then you can see what I see, because that's pretty clear. But anyway, it's all open. You can see my fancy schmancy floats. There's our steak. I don't know what this is. So there you have it. If you can focus, that'd be great. Yeah. So what the crochet thing really just does is just make it contained. Unraveling isn't going to happen either way, but it contains it and it makes it kind of want to roll in a bit. So you can tack it down. I'm probably going to tack it down. I tend to take these ends and tack down the beginning and the end, and then the rest kind of just aligns with it. But you can also sew down some bands to cover it if you want to do that. You can even knit on a band and cover it. I tend not to specify that so much because people do what they want, and honestly, you don't have to. Also, why is this one following me? So there's, honestly, I think this was all the ends I had on the inside of the work that just got caught along with the steek. Which is one of the coolest things about steeking, is like all these ends here that you could have woven in, just cut them off in the steek. You don't have to weave in anything. It's great. So there we have it. It's been steeked. It now just needs buttons. I may buy some. I may use some from Stash. I don't know yet, because I tend to buy them in 8s, and it would be a bit annoying because this one only has 7. But isn't it the cutest? Isn't it the cutest? It's so cute. It's just really, really cute. I need to stop. I don't even like, I don't dislike babies. I'm not a baby person. I have no dislike. I just don't, I don't get excited. But like, this is the first baby in the family for 20 years. My cousin had the audacity of becoming an adult, and now we have no babies. So we're getting a baby, right? My sister's getting one. So, and yes, it does bother me that she's gonna go through this whole pregnancy in Norway where the health system is completely overloaded. I'm not gonna be able to be there. Not that I would have been any useful, but you know, we want to poke the belly. Don't poke the belly. And obviously, you know, when she gives birth, I may not be able to come. I may not be able to, like, you know, poke the baby when it's out. And it is frustrating. Now it's raining. Mood. But we've had amazing weather. Like, it's kind of ironic, right? Like, the only time that you get nice weather in the UK is when all the British people have been told to stay inside. I mean, that includes me as well, even though I'm not British. Obviously, everyone just in the UK. But I mean, the sky's been so blue that just the sheer lack of cars and transit around, you know, it's had a noticeable impact on the London environment. Obviously, I'd rather have that without people getting sick and dying. But in terms of just looking for the few positives we can find, that's been a clear positive. Like, the air is so much better. I hope there's some things we can take away from the collective response we've had to. That's a hailstorm. Can you hear the tapping on my window? We're having a legit hailstorm right now. So forget everything I've said about we having had nice weather. Clearly the weather doesn't agree. Yeah, so Ashley Winterfield cardigan. It's gonna come in sizes from half a year to 12 years old. So usually I would want to put toddler and babies in a separate pattern to children or older, but I'm not doing that. That sounds like a lot of patterns. I've only got so much time, so we're gonna get the full children's range here. Oh, it's so cute. I'm gonna put it away. This is ridiculous. So that was my 2 finished objects. I clearly have tried to, you know, bulk up the episode by filling out all sorts of talks about the weather and pandemic. But I have only 1 work in progress, arguably 2. I'm gonna squeeze in the second one as well, because I worked like 4 rounds, so yeah. But 1 work in progress that I have worked more on is I don't know what to call it. My working title for it is Fuzzy Pickle, because I used Pickle's Pure Wool and Pickle's Soft Fuzz, which is their new alpaca wool yarn. If you can see the outside right now. But enough about that. Fuzzy Pickle is happening. It's got a very big neckline. That's gonna have to be dealt with. But anyway, this is Fuzzy Pickle. I can't call it Fuzzy Pickle, can I? What do you call it? They may just be called Fuzzy Pickle. I mean, it's not on brand at all, but hey. So it's got brushed alpaca wool held together with fingering weight wool. So these are 2 fingering weights that, because the alpaca is brushed, actually makes it kind of iron to bulky weight. So it's using 6mm needles, like really thick needles. It's a very quick knit and it's contiguous. I have dabbled in contiguous before. I have the floof sweater. So this may be a kind of, yeah, bulky floof. This one, it is different than floof. It's not the same as floof at all. It's got like a shoulder cap, so you can see here. I mean, it's really hard to show anything with this because it's completely black, but it has a shoulder cap. Yay, shoulder cap. So you can see this is the little neckline and the sleeves coming out here. Yeah, so I think it's going to have a very nice fit. It's going to be a very quick knit. Yeah, so the yellow yarn is just, it's where I left the sleeve stitches on, and I leave it in so it's easier to measure the length of the sleeve, honestly, which I'm nearly done with. And yeah, it's just gonna be very cozy. It's gonna be a nightmare to photograph. I don't look forward to that at all. Now it's blowing out. Oh dear, why did I leave the ISO on auto? So that's Fuzzy Pickle. The neckline's going to look a lot better once I pick up stitches. These always look completely out of hand until you do that. That's just the rule. Yeah, Fuzzy Pickle. I've talked a lot about like when it's going to come out and how it's going to come out. I still am debating how to make it available. I have toyed with the idea of making it a free pattern. I don't know how that's going to go in terms of tech editing costs and photography, etc. But I'll make a plan. I'll make it work. But it's going to be pretty straightforward and simple and cool and just fun, and yeah. Using Pickle's yarn, but obviously if you can't get hold of Pickle's yarn, I would say any fingering weight yarn held double with, say, either those melted fuzzy Surrey alpaca yarns, the kind of brushed ones, or 2 strands of silk mohair would work too. Yeah, so that's that work in progress. Not really much to write home about, but it's just been a nice easy knit to have, especially now that I have, you know, finished some things. Trying to resist costinitis, but I'm not gonna lie, I keep like grading stuff for new designs and I'm out of control. Oh my god, the light right now. This is nice. So I have one last work in progress to show you guys. The one that I worked like 4 or 5 rounds on, therefore I can show it to you again. It lives in this really cool dragon bag that my mom made me, and it is indeed my Marius. Oh gosh, it's been a while since I started it. It was like November or December. I really wanted to see if I could just take my Islander or Utra, using that construction method that I developed for those designs, and use that construction method to just insert any chart and make any design with. So I just did it with the Marius. Obviously the Marius is like a heavily legally, you don't even want to go there kind of design, that's currently owned by one company arguably, and then Sunless is the only one who's allowed to make knitting patterns from it. So this is just for fun that I'm doing for myself, just to see that it's possible. Honestly, I shouldn't be saying this, but you can easily find the chart with a bit of googling and plot it into this particular pattern yourself, or any other pattern obviously. I've seen people do it with the Zimmerman method, I've seen people do it with all sorts, and this is just my personal experiment for fun. It does have a steek in the front and it has kind of a tiny boat neck. I haven't done any shaping to the boat neck as opposed to both Ultra or Icelander. I'm basically procrastinating a bit. So I might try out a neck cut out method, which is kind of like steeking, but you're just cutting out the neck. So either way, it will be picked up along the side as you do with the normal steek, or you just pick up the stitches that you kind of frog down to, and then you can pick up for the neckline. And yeah, a very classic Norwegian method that I actually haven't done myself. I just know it in theory, so that should be fun. Or I might be happy with how it is, you know, depends. So I have basically completed the Marius chart, and I'm gonna do just a couple more rounds before I am gonna bind up for the neckline armhole steek, and then it will just be blue stockinette in the round with just the front steek that I am purling 2 stitches off, and the rest is just stockinette as well. So pretty straightforward, nothing to write home about, I guess, but I just love the look of the Marius pattern. Cheesy and overused as it is, because I don't live in Norway and haven't for nearly a decade, it makes me really happy to see. I know I would probably have had too much of it if I was in Norway, but given that I'm not, I haven't become quite sick of it, so it just makes me very happy. You actually often see it in the background of my videos. I have been tempted to just throw this whole cushion in the bin because it's lost all shape. Both the cover and the really poorly made cushion on the inside is like this really bad IKEA cushion. They're just like, it's not good. I want to make a new and better one and just get rid of it. Because... What? I don't know. So we have like the ugliest canopy outside. That was not my choice to put out. It's just the worst, and it gathers all kinds of dirt and rain and bird poo and everything, and now it's been gathering all this hail and the wind just blew it all up and towards my window. I was like, yikes. It's exciting on here today, guys. It's exciting. Anyway, I am using Ask by Hillesvåg. That's the same as the cobalt blue that I used in the Vesle Vinterfjell sweater. I've had this stash for ages. I hoarded a lot of this when various shops that I, you know, could get Ask from was closing down. So they were on sale here and there at the same time, and I just hoarded. It was both a shop in the centre of Trondheim, it was from Fortuna outside of Trondheim, and oh, they may still actually sell it, come to think of it. I think they just did a sale. And there was an online shop in the UK that used to have it. No, I can't get it in the UK. So, you know, you gotta knit with it as well. Even though I like collecting it. So, yeah, it's just really, really lovely yarn. Very similar to Fine Lentois, which is easier to get abroad. So, you know, don't fret. But I'm really happy I'm gonna have a full-on Ask garment, which I don't think I have yet, and I really, really want one. So, yeah, it's gonna be a Marius cardigan, you know, just drop sleeve, pretty simple, straightforward. Hopefully make the sleeves baggy enough that I will want to wear it, because that seems to be the deciding factor. Yeah, that's my knitting since last time. It's not too bad. It's like, I think it's been a week, and yeah, I've been productive. I don't have anything for acquisitions. I just thought we'd just round up this episode with just some loose chatter. So what's been happening? I'm sure it's probably, you know, you have enough to keep track of what the local regulations for the pandemic is where you live, and yeah, so the situation in the UK has been such that it took a lot longer for the public to kind of come up with a plan of what we're going to do, and eventually, I think it was Monday this week, we were told stay at home, only go out if you have to, you know, 1 walk a day or something, like just very, very strict, really, really, really told firmly to stay put. So since then I have done just that. As I alluded to in the beginning of the episode, you know, that's been my life for the past gosh, I don't know, like 4 years now. I moved in here 4 years ago, and that's when I started to work more from home. And to begin with, actually really enjoyed it, but it became very hard. It became very hard to make my own structure, to set a schedule that really didn't depend on even getting dressed, you know. It's really hard to maintain a routine, and I kind of thrive on routine, but I am very bad at establishing any. And so it's been very interesting to me that now a lot of people in my life and others are now facing the same challenges that I have faced for years. And there's a sense of company in that, even though we're now very far apart. I am definitely feeling a little bit more understood in that regard. I think I want to branch this out to maybe a bit of a bigger topic. I think a lot of people in the disabled community are feeling a lot of that. There's a lot of things that people now just like, oh, this is so hard, and this is new, and this is different, and I feel isolated, and I don't know how to do this. And it's just a lot of challenges we're collectively facing that actually the disabled community has faced for a very long time. I'm saying disabled like very broadly, including mental health, chronic illness, you know, etc. And I guess like, there's a sense of company in that. Obviously, I've alluded to some mental health things in the past for myself. Part of me is also thinking down the line, or when people go out and mingle again and hang out, I hope we don't forget those who actually live this sort of life, you know, have done it before and are going to continue doing it after the pandemic. I hope we don't forget that now that we have had a taste of it ourselves. The good and the bad is, you know, it's a mixed bag. It's also very nice to be home, you know. But I hope we can take it as an opportunity for empathy, basically, is what I guess I'm trying to get at. So it's nice to be understood. I think a lot of people are feeling that, but I hope we don't, forget. The other thing I wanted to kind of touch on is also the news. I've been watching a lot of videos about where people have made reflections on how we feel around the situation. There's 3 videos I can definitely recommend. Basically anything from Vlogbrothers. I know Hank Green made a very good video about change of expectations, and I don't remember the particular video, but his brother John Green of the same channel, ergo Vlogbrothers, he has OCD, so he has reflected a lot about how, you know, it is for him, and I think it could be useful for various people who have various chronic conditions. You know, Hank has had he has ulcerative colitis, and has reflected around that as like a metaphor for this change. So I found those really good takes. Another take was one I watched this morning, which was by the Personal Philosophy Project, who's a channel I really like on YouTube, and she talked about how to measure out how we engage with the news. And I think there is always going to be, you know, different amounts and different strategies that suit different people. I myself don't find that I have to like steer super far away from the news and social media, but other people may feel like they really need to narrow it down to a very small time frame in moments of the day that they will do that, because when they don't, it's like bad for their mental health, right? So I kind of learned some strategies around that about a decade ago, because, as you may know, there was a terrorist attack in Norway in 2011, and it was really bad. I'm not going to go into details around that, but what was very difficult was being in the UK and trying to keep up with the news and the updates and the legal proceedings and everything, and not just being exhausted by trying to know the essentials, what you needed to know. Because a lot of people would just milk it. Like as much as people were handling it with grace in the media in Norway, there were some that if there was any news update, they'd make 5 headlines of it instead of just 1. And they would all be super clicky, and some photos would be quite upsetting. So I made a choice back then to only follow this one news source that wouldn't milk the news. They would just make one article if there was anything new to know. And I've kind of just stuck to that idea. So it's not super important what website you choose. And as much as I think it's healthy to have multiple sources to get various points of views, when it comes to these things, if you can find the one site that you know isn't going to write headlines and with photos that upset you, that make you feel outrage or frustration or anything, you know, if you can just find someone who just says this is the latest and that's it. They don't, you know, they don't milk it. They don't try to get as much as they can out of something. They just actually give you information, and just stick to that one instead of all the websites, all the news sites, all the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the whole thing, because that I don't think is good, for me at least. So that's kind of a choice that I made, and can recommend. Those are a lot of words to just say. Find the one site that doesn't make you upset. Stay on top of the latest announcements, but don't, you know, drain yourself of the media. So I hope you're all doing well. I posted a baking recipe on my Instagram. You can find that if you want to try out some baking if you have time on your hands. Obviously it's quite hard to find flour and stuff, but I have found that not that many people buy those like 500 gram packets of bread flour. They seem to be still around even though all the other flours are out. So that's really all you need. Just a bit of dry yeast and those 500 gram flour packs and a bit of salt, and then yeah. So I keep just trying to put out a bit of helpful, tangibly related stuff on social media right now. I guess what I'm realizing from this whole rant is that it's like very hard to make any sort of statement or reflection that can really like hit home to everyone, because everyone's really, despite in very similar circumstances in the same situation, also very different circumstances, and I can't really imagine all the different scenarios that we're in. Some are with their family, some are completely on their own, some are in like flat shares, like, yeah. So I just hope you're doing well. I hope you're getting some knitting or crafting or whatever you enjoy in there, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.